Welcome to Spirit Anima at Panther Medicine. Today we are going to venture in the realm of haunted land and my experience working at one of the most haunted places in Arizona. The spirit realm is no stranger to me, and I also grew up in multiple haunted homes where, let's say, the microwave had started by itself, or we could hear people walking up the stairs. There was one place I lived that I would regularly get this constant urge to absolutely take off out of the front door and run for my life. And many, many years later, I brought this up to someone in my family and told them I used to do that, and they said that they used to do that too, and we didn't even know that each other felt that way being home alone. I have been very attuned to the spirit world since the beginning. So typically I do not fear them, but this one would seriously get underneath your skin. And I definitely did not understand how to manage these things at the time, which is also why I like to share these experiences, because these gifts, also these abilities, are not something that you need to try to attain. This is something that comes organically when it is time. When you do seek these things out prematurely, it can most definitely backfire, although you can only get so far with that as is. This is something that everyone must be trusted with. However, this is becoming far more common. I have many clients whose children are absolutely able to see auras and spirits and talk about these experiences. And this is something that is really important to understand, because this also requires protection. There is other information I have available on that topic, but today I'm going to discuss protecting the land. There was a summer that I was in between semesters and I needed some extra money. So I was looking for something a little part-time, and I was only going to be here for a month, which I ended up being there longer. And I did not know anything about this place being haunted when I started there. And once I got hired, they told me it is very likely that I may hear something calling my name or trying to grab me. There have been multiple experiences where girls have felt grabbed by spirits and so on. There was also the bathroom was very haunted and would lock the stall with others in it, and you could feel that as well. But it was no thing to me, and believe me, no one there was scared of spirits at all whatsoever. So, it was really chill. I was not worried about it at all. And once I started working there regularly, I worked in the mornings only. So it was me and one other person that opened and a little bit of traffic in the day. Other than that, it was pretty desolate in the daytime. So I had a lot of alone time there where I experienced a lot of wild stuff, but it was also incredibly wild at night. That is when a lot of stuff happened as well. Ultimately, the most wild things that happened, I will not be able to share in this discussion. I'm talking some really, really wild things and very timeline jumpy as well. However, there were plenty of very obvious things that were apparent to everyone there. Glasses would absolutely suddenly fly off the wall one at a time, not like the whole shelf, but you would be standing there and a glass would just fly and basically fall on the ground or hit a wall. Things would fly off of a table. There was a lot of weird stuff since I was there in the daytime, and there wasn't a lot going on and opening up. I could smell them all the time. I could smell old woman perfume, very, very old style perfume. I could smell different beings, and I felt things. There's a lot of weird things that I cannot share, but people from all walks of life come to Phoenix. So, and we had people that would come in and say, "Hey, I came here because I heard this was the most haunted place in Arizona." Then there was a day I was sitting with the owner after work and asking him about it, and he said, "Yeah, this was built on an Indian burial ground in which it was a school, and there was a massacre, and it is incredibly haunted." And in fact, I have had 2 mediums come here. I believe he said one may had been on a TV show before or something. This was a long time ago. At this point, I was very aware of other spirits, of course. Although I avoided communication, and even for many years after this, it was not something I sought out by any means. And what he told me, the medium said, is that this was an Indian school, and there happens to be a road that goes all across the greater Phoenix area called Indian School, by the way. But have you guys ever seen the movie A Million Ways to Die in the West? Unless it is called 1,000 Ways to Die in the West, maybe, but something along those lines. I very much resonate with that movie, but specifically in this zone. So there was a lot going on there. It was a very chaotic energy, but fun. This place was incredibly punk. We'll just say it was very riot-like energy, and the spirits did not care either. I can tell you that. What he told me the medium saw was children and animals and old different kinds of people, and I definitely could pick up on a lot of different style of people. I was not nearly as in tune then as I am now, but I will tell you that there is a lot of history all across the board, all over, not only in this country and not only in this state, although the Southwest in general did hold a lot, well, all of this land actually, but there were a lot of different type of people here that we were not taught. There is a lot of history that is not known and is not understood. And there's a lot of things that happen to the land that we are not aware of for the most part. Or I should say, we're not told. But there is also a lot of really, really, really weird and really gross things that all of our ancestors did. All over. No one is exempt from this. Things I cannot and do not care to speak of on here. This includes, however, infant sacrifice. This is among many cultures. There's a lot of gross things that happen to the animals, and this is also something that karma is calling to be repaid for. That is for an entirely different discussion, and other gross things like cannibalism. One thing I always am very strongly adamant about is understanding your own personal family, your history. And for the most part, this is something that we find within. We do not find it in the external, regardless of what we are taught. But when we travel to different areas and different land, this land activates us. And sometimes this has to do with our lineage. There are crystals in the land, and there are crystals in our body. There are crystals in our electronics, our cell phone, and these are all programmable. And just as you can charge a crystal, trauma stores. So crystals record information. And I did make a video about this really wild experience I had with a crystal. That is for another discussion. You are welcome to check that out. But we are activated when we go onto land because it holds an energy. Sometimes this is energy that our ancestors did experience, and there are many reasons we are called to different areas of land. We are also activated when we come into contact with people that have that activation within them, or objects. Just as we are chargeable, Earth is sentient and, of course, filled with crystals and everything else beautiful. So when trauma happens on land or anywhere in your body, it records it and it stores it, and it must be cleared. When you have uncleared trauma, which everyone does, and we all have passed on to us, our ancestors, basically, this is not only trauma, this is gifts as well. The memory, the storage bank basically is passed on to us. And if you are here clearing ancestral karma and trauma, then you are very well aware of this. Some are not aware at all, and some are not aware that they are doing it by changing patterns and by doing things differently. But the trauma must come up to the surface and be cleared. And one of the best ways to do this is to pray, and to pray on the land. You do not need a certificate to be a healer of the land. What you need is love in your heart and intention in prayer. And I remember when I first started putting my hands on the land purely to give my healing energy to it, and also not to take anything from her or ask for anything or ask for healing. I would just sit there, put my hands on the ground or in the grass somewhere. It didn't even have to be somewhere where something happened or, there was any type of bad energy there. I would just put my hands and pray and put the energy from my heart into earth, and the best feeling ever I would get from that. It was like I had a clearing, like an energy clearing myself, and I could just feel it move up my arms and absolutely revitalize my body. And walking back and my energy being so light, I felt like I was like hopping. I just felt so clean and light and energized. And the earth, the sun, nature is always giving for us and is always providing for us and is our connection to the heart. And when we are giving from our heart, when we are praying from our heart, not from our thoughts, this is incredibly healing. It is the gift that gives. This is the cycle that it just keeps on giving and giving and giving. With that being said, when a spirit crosses over, the level of consciousness that we are at when we end a cycle, be it a relationship cycle, but at the end of a life cycle, is the same level of consciousness we stay in. You do not suddenly become this sweet angel when you were really a terrorizer and had bad things in your heart. So there are people and ancestors and family members that were not good people when they were here, and they didn't suddenly become good people when they crossed over. They do not suddenly want good things for you or for anyone. And if you had a really loving family member that was devoted to love and giving, that is the level of consciousness they will be in as well. There are a lot of people that had a lot of bad things happen to them and that are bitter and resentful. And when you carry that in your heart, when you leave, you bring that into the next cycle, which is why when you do not heal these things with an ex, for example, you end up in a relationship that once again will have a lesson pertaining to these subjects. The land, when it is not healed, carries the trauma as well. And there has been a lot of very awful things that have happened to many and to much of the land. What we have the ability to do is to work on healing it. I'm not sure if anybody else here is familiar with the show Captain Planet from way back in the day, but this is very much those vibes. And every person with love in their heart has the ability to use your power to heal the land that you walk on. You can pray on the land. You can also pray on yourself. So we cannot change the choices of any ancestors. And there were many different types of people here. I highly recommend, if people are interested, that they learn the history of their own personal family and not base their foundation and understanding off what you have been taught before. As with everything else that many seek outward for answers or for love, the truth is truly within. And that is where you are going to find the answers. When you ask for guidance, that door will open when you are ready to walk through it.